You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we go, another Sunday, another show. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Today is the broadcasting of November the 2nd, 2014. Important news, important show. Every Sunday I try to bring you updates of what's going on nationally, internationally, and also locally, all related to our freedom, our rights, and our politics. Because remember, politics is just another dimension where pretty much our rights get pretty much stolen from us, okay? Now, today I really had an important show, and I have an important show coming down to Mohave County politics. The first 2 hours, I had planned 2 special guests running for county supervisors. I mean, one person is running for the for the Democratic ticket as county supervisor for District 4. His name is Jack Ehrhardt, and of course he's going to be here. We had a great interview, and we can at least pretty much share his opinion, his values about what comes down to county politics. And then I had, and I say with very sadness, I say I had, because she changed her mind just 1 hour before the interview. As a special guest, I wanted to give the same airtime to acting county supervisor, because right now she's been selected or appointed as county supervisor before the election, Mrs. Jean Bishop from the Republican ticket. Now, I have no agenda with anybody, so much that I am an independent, seriously. My goal is only to share facts, to share at least truth and honesty, okay? Of course, then at the end of the day, I have my opinions, and I hope every one of us, every one of you, once you have more informed facts about the candidates, you can make your own decision. And that's pretty much the purpose of the show, to share facts, and you can make your own decision. So, I know that Mr. Bishop may have a lot of things that we may agree, but, before politics, I'm really disappointed when somebody, really behave in a way that I don't consider professional, and I don't consider also in a way that, the word, you give a word to somebody, and it's called honor, okay? So I find very childish, I'm sorry, as I said, that the fact that more than 2 weeks ago, Supervisor Bishop gave me the confirmation, and I tried to accommodate her busy schedule because she couldn't do it before, pretty much now, about to be on my show. And I say, it's not about my show, honestly, that's fine. If you didn't want to be on my show, just tell me more than 2 weeks ago. I have official county email where you confirm the date and the time. And I accommodate you, and I gave you the plenty time, like I was giving the plenty time, the same time to Mr. Jack Ehrhardt. Now, 1 hour before the show, you call me, you cancel because you're too busy, and also because you don't know very much about the show, or maybe the radio does not really broadcasting where you live. I don't think it's very adult answer, in my opinion, Supervisor Bishop, because seriously, let's be honest, if you didn't like to be on my show, you could have told me 2 weeks ago, okay? And to find excuses the last minute, I said, it does not really say much about your integrity as a person. You may win these elections, Supervisor Bishop, and probably you will. That's fine. But as a person, you lost my respect. And this is pretty much all I'm going to say. And I'm saddened. I don't like to create controversy. I wish we could have a good debate, a good exchange of ideas. I'm sure there are many things we may agree. Some other, maybe we have no agree. But still, I'm a very civil person. I respect everybody's opinion, and everybody's welcome on the show. But at the same time, I wanted to be sure everybody knows that Mr. Jack Ehrhardt will be on the show today. And I gave the same opportunity to Supervisor Jean Bishop for District 4 to be on my show, but she changed her mind 1 hour before, giving excuses that she's very busy and pretty much she doesn't know enough about the show. That's pretty much reporting the facts. So nothing personal. I don't have any animosity against Mrs. Bishop. I wish her well, but I'm sorry. According to the facts, you lost my respect as an individual, as a person. Now, back to the show. We have a very important show today. We will have, first of all, as I said, Mr. Jack Ehrhardt running for candidate for county supervisor for the Democratic ticket. And you will know more about him and his policy and what he exactly wants to do as a supervisor to try to improve the quality of life and defend our rights in Mohave County. Then I have another important guest that I think is very, very important because the topic it really comes down to the core of all the tyranny that we are facing. It's the banking cartel, especially the Federal Reserve and the huge national bankers, like Chase in this case. His name is Ronald O'Donnell, and he's a guy that is an activist when it comes down to try to fight for our basic freedom, property rights, and also, of course, is trying to bring a federal lawsuit against Chase Bank for alleged fraud when it comes down to credit cards. So it's going to be an interesting show because there is also some practical things you can do to defend your rights. Then I have the final part of the show, a great moment of music and a little bit of interesting, different perspective from another great activist when it comes down to freedom. His name is Jordan Page, and we have some music with him, and we'll share some of his philosophies and also views about what's going on right now in America. So, before we go ahead and we continue with everything else, I would like to share a little bit about some important facts that I believe it's pretty much all part of what's going on in this world right now, especially in America. First of all, the Bundys. The Bundys, what happened a few months ago, some people may agree, some people may disagree, whatever, that's fine. The point now is something that we should all, at least, I believe, really be together in this one. The federal government is retaliating, not just against the Bundy, but against all people of Southern Nevada, okay? Let me tell you exactly what happened, because this is more than just a bunch of cows and grazing fee. This is about Agenda 21, something that we will discuss pretty much more in details in the next few weeks. This is about pretty much confiscation of all land by international group of agents under the United Nations, try to do it through federal and state local governments. Now, for example, there is a federal notice, a federal register, volume 79, number 197. It's a notice, pretty much outlines plans to make the Bundy Ranch and most of the rest of Southern Nevada areas of critical environmental concern. It's called ACECC. 90 days from October the 10th, 2014, this proposal will become federal law without consent from the Nevada state legislators or the people of Southern Nevada. There is a PDF file that I will upload on the website today's show, November the 2nd, 2014, and you can go to lovegunsfreedom.com and get this official document. This is not a conspiracy. And here, what pretty much says that nearly 3 million acres in the Southern Nevada will be locked away from the people. This includes most uses of the land, recreational, agricultural, or otherwise. So, pretty much under this ACEC, you will have closed roads, no more trails, no more camping, no more recreational vehicles, close to motorized travel, restricted human hiking, restricted horseback riding, no recreational thing, no more mineral development, close to water access, they control their resources, remember that, close to hunting and target shooting. Now, this is tyranny. We're talking about 1,740,000 and so acres, and there is more than 33 new areas like this proposed to cover Southern Nevada. I mean, this can happen today in Nevada. Tomorrow, it will happen probably where you live, in Mohave County or anywhere else in America. Now, if you don't understand the big picture of this, it's very important. This is probably the most important thing we should address right now. I believe this is about freedom, property rights, and also the right of the people to enjoy public land. I said again, Agenda 21 is the keyword, and this is not just some sort of treaty, Water Watch treaty that was signed a long time ago in 1992. No, it is something real. It's happening. It's a global plan to pretty much limit and control all the resources of the planet. And this is not for the common good, by the way, but even if it was for common good, this is still tyranny. We still have local government should be accountable, and people should decide what they want to do in their land. This is about a plan pretty much to control us like a herd, like a bunch of cows. When you control the water, you control the land, you control the resources, the food, and now people can even prosper. You can pretty much direct people and in locations. Like I can, move animals from an area to another one, just regulating the water. How much water and food I give you here. If I don't feed you, if I don't give you water, you move somewhere else. Same thing with us. So I really believe, I hope that every one of us, regardless the different political ideology or party we look at this like a very dangerous precedent of attack against humanity, against freedom. Because when you have right now a government out of control, that somebody with just a little bit of ink, pen and paper can pretty much says that over almost 2 million acres can be completely excluded by human presence. This is serious. This is like what pretty much what Stalin used to do when he started to confiscate property from the farmers. They didn't do it on the Agenda 21. They just did it with the soldiers coming there and shooting down the farmers. But now it's a little more sophisticated, but it's still the same. Now, if you do not pay any attention what's happening right now at the Bundys, and if you do not get involved into this, what's happening right now in southern Nevada with this incredible act of tyranny, you know what? When's going to happen to your land, to your little farm, or to your little place where you live? Who's going to fight for you? Who's going to defend you? So I really believe this is time. We have now probably a few more months to make up our mind, to start to decide, first of all, if we want to get involved and stand up with our fellow Americans in Nevada. We want to just close our eyes and pretty much, forget and trying to ignore what's happening to them. And maybe one day, you regret it because, first of all, you will live with the regret the rest of your life when other people, they were screaming for help. And more important, you will see that when it's going to happen to you, nobody will come to help you. So I have a song I would like to dedicate to this very tragic and dramatic moment that I hope it can make you think a little bit. The song is called Here They Come. I wrote the music and lyrics. This is from the CD Don't Tread on Us. And unfortunately, I see this song more and more is becoming like real. And just let's listen and let's go back in a few minutes. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna.
Here they come, they're coming for your guns. Here they come, they're coming for your sons. Here they come, they're coming for your land. Are you ready to stand? Are you ready to stand? Here they come, the end has just begun. Here they come, this time we won't run. Here they come, together we're not outdone. If we fight as one, if we fight as one, we'd rather live free for just one day than be your slaves, than be your slaves. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid. The truth has risen. Our minds have no more prisons. Your illusions have disappeared. In the sun we have no fear. Now is our time to expose your crimes. Now is our time. Now is our time. And now we know your names. We know your final game. You're just pathetic scum. You worship death and then some. And here we draw the line. And we're feeling fine. And we're feeling fine. And we're feeling fine. We'd rather live free for just one day than be your slaves, than be your slaves. We'd rather live free for just one day than obey. We're not afraid.
are not afraid of you. Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs, New World Order. We are not afraid of you.
We'd rather live free, for just one day, than be your slave, than be your slave. We'd rather live free, for just one day, than no day. We're not afraid. Here they come.
Here we go. That was Here They Come, music and lyrics by myself, Gianluca Zanna, and I remind you, you can support this show with just 99 cents. And I don't even want 99 cents donation. I don't want your money just like that. I want to give you a song, at least any of my songs, that you can find on www.zanna.us or on iTunes or Amazon.com, pretty much everywhere. Download any of my songs for 99 cents, and you will pretty much secure that this show stays free, independent, and I don't need to rely just on sponsors. Don't get me wrong, I love sponsors, I'm for free market, but at the same time, I like to be free to say pretty much whatever I think is right for me, and also according to my values. So, doing that, supporting my music, you make this happen. And don't forget to support the radio station that is also helping me out to broadcast my message, and also the network, Guerrilla Media Network. So KTalks 1340 AM, support please, and also support GMN, Guerrilla Media Network. It's very important. Now, a little bit about guns. In the last few minutes, we talk a little bit about news. We talk about Supervisor Jim Bishop. Sorry about that, Gene. I wish we had a better report. And I have a better report with you, but it's up to you, I didn't change my mind. I wanted to give you a very fair shot to be on the show. But I wanted just to remind everybody that you had a chance and you changed your mind. That's it. Let's move on. And also, of course, this situation with Ebola, Obama is getting crazier and crazier. You saw that nurse that is connected to Obama and the CDC, that she was back from Liberia, of course, and she doesn't want to stay home. I mean, the point is, I'm all for civil rights. I'm all for freedoms and individual rights. At the same time, I also believe that we must have respect for others. If you're in a danger area and you go in places like Liberia where there is Ebola, you come back home. And here on U.S. soil, you can compromise every one of us' safety and health. This is a problem. You should be quarantined, or at least self-quarantine yourself. But things are happening for a reason. Now, a little bit about guns, okay? I wanted to talk to you a few times about, how to train at home without spending a dime. Why is so important? Because ammunition, first of all, they're very expensive, and sometimes you don't have enough time to go to the range. Maybe it's far away, gas money, everything else. So it's called dry practice, dry fire practice, one of the best way. First of all, what is exactly dry fire? Dry fire means that you're practicing with your weapon, in this case, gun, handgun, or rifle, doesn't matter, without any ammunition, okay? And you can do pretty much all the different drills, all the different presentation, and different type also emergency reload, tactical reloads, or even malfunctions, like you were doing it at the range. And why it's so important? Because normally, first of all, you save the ammo, save the money. But also very important, when you are shooting, and when there is the recoil and all this sort of a big bang and noise and smoke, sometimes you don't focus enough on your mistakes. When there is no noise, no recoil, you can see exactly what you're doing wrong. This dry practice can be very, very important to improve dramatically. Like, for example, you can do 70% of your training in dry practice, and just do 30% or 20% of your verification with the real live ammo, you will see a huge improvement. Now, let's start to do, first of all, how can you do that in a safe way? And that, by the way, this is not legalese, but let me tell you, if you do this, it's your own risk, okay? So don't start to blame it on me if you do something wrong. First of all, you need to go back to the basic that we already know. We got to treat all the firearms as they're always loaded. Number one. Number two, you never point the muzzle or anything that you're not willing to destroy. Be serious about that, okay? Especially yourself and anybody else. Never point your gun, even if it's unloaded, on you or anybody else, or animals, anything. Then you want to keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target. And then number 4, you must know your target and what is beyond it. Now, let's start to do preparation for dry practice fire drill, okay? First of all, you must have your gun unloaded, okay? And you want to be sure that the chamber is empty, then the magazine is empty, and you got to be sure about that. Now, number 2, all the live ammunition should be in another room. So don't have any ammunition around your room. I don't care, they are not on you. Still, another room. Be serious about it. Then you got to put up a target. Why? You don't want to shoot at some sort of an item that is always there, standing, for example, like a TV or a cat or something that hangs around. No, you want to put up a target that after you finish your dry practice drill, the target goes away. Because mentally, at that point, you have no more reason to touch your gun. Because if you forget that your gun is loaded, and you think, okay, let's do one more time, and boom, you forgot the gun was loaded and you destroy something or kill something or endanger something. So very important, put up a target. It's going to be your target, okay? Now, once you're ready at that point and you need to say out loud, really, I'm starting now dry fire practice. This is very important because mentally now you know. Now, at that point, you're going to start your dry practice. And we will go a little bit in details what type of drills you can do. But meanwhile, most important thing as a generic rule, and after you finish your dry practice, you must say, dry practice fire drill, it's over. And no more. After you said that, you get your target, you put it aside, away. Now, it's very important that you stick by these rules. Also, it's very important that wherever you put this target, you want to be sure that behind this target, there is not anybody or anything that you could endanger or destroy. For example, because let's say you put this target and behind you have your bedroom with somebody sleeping, or your kids, or your wife, anything. You don't want that. You want to be sure that behind this target there is a wall or there is some sort of a stop that could pretty much a barrier that could stop any type of negligent discharge. Very, very important. Now, distractions. The phone rings, don't answer. You need to have a limited time for dry practice. You don't want to overdo it. Normally it would be between 5, no more than 10 minutes, okay? But in these 10 minutes, you must be very focused, no distractions, no people calling, and no people entering. You lock the door, you focus on your dry practice. These are the general rules. Now, what exactly can you do as dry practice? Let's start first of all with the presentation, and I will pretty much address specifically the presentation next time, how to present your gun into a fight from the holster, from concealed, in less than 1.5 seconds. Deliver at least a control pair. That's going to be the next step we will talk next time. But meanwhile, start to prepare all your environment for a dry practice session. You will be happy about it. I will also put some YouTubes that pretty much can explain better than just the audio like I'm doing now through the radio, how to do it correctly. Remember, I'm not an instructor. I'm just a professional student, but I'm also a distinguished graduate from South Nevada in handgun and different other things. But regardless, I'm here to share my love for freedom, and I really believe that guns are the latest and the last resort to defend our rights. So stay tuned, don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Ciao.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, Luca Zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Don't forget also to go to my website, lovegunsfreedom.com, where you can pretty much listen to all my shows. By the way, this is been already 1 year. It's my first year on the air, and I really appreciate, as I said last week, for the opportunity to learn with you, opportunity to improve myself, and also the opportunity to share all my opinions, and more important, also the hopes that I have to regain our rights. Today's show is something very important for me, even maybe just some sort of a local topic. We're talking about Mohave County Supervisors coming election, but I believe that this can be generalized to everywhere in America, because our freedoms, the way that we live our life, and we can pretty much be free human beings, starts at local level. We may have lost the control of federal government, but I really believe still that at the county level, city level, there is so much regular people like us we can do to regain pretty much our lost liberties. Now, when I'm talking about today, we have a guest. We have a guest, is a candidate running for county supervisors for Mohave County, and we will have more information from him pretty soon. And this gentleman is running for the Democratic ticket. I want to say a premise. I do not endorse anybody. I do not have any type of special allegiance to anybody. That's why I became an independent. I used to be a registered Republican just, for not that long ago. But the point, I realized that even I always pretty much was one of the most vocal critics against the party, when the party, in my opinion, was pretty much trespassing on our rights, on the Constitution, and infringing our rights. I always try to say what I thought was true, in my opinion. Now, today, I feel even better because as an independent, I want to really be sure that everybody understands that I'm not here to support anybody, but I want to support the ideas that are, in my opinion, close to the principle that when I became a citizen, I swore an oath to uphold the principle of individual liberties, small government, more important, our U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, that used the way it used to be. Now, Mr. Jack Ehrhardt, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Was I clear enough with my basic concept that I'm here not to do anything, a special favor to anybody, but I want just to bring truth and facts from the candidates?
No, I thought you did really good. I mean, that's exactly how I feel. It's too many times you can't get people to say what they're thinking or feeling, and that's what you're trying to do, and I commend you on it.
Thank you. And I've been following a little bit about you. Even I never was registered, even doesn't mean anything really at this point as a Democrat, but I've been following. You were kind of a different type of breed of Democrat, in my opinion, at least for some basic issue. But I would like to learn more about you, and that's why we are today. First of all, let's remind everybody, you're running for Mohave County Supervisor. Which district?
District 4. It includes the western side of Kingman, Golden Valley, Chloride, Dolan Springs, and Meadview, and actually into Grand Canyon West, which is federal land, but it's still in the area.
Mm-hmm. And you are pretty much, this is not your first, attempt. You've been involved in the political scene for a long time. And did you try one more time, or at least one time before running for supervisor, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of, you're pretty involved into this. Now, if you could describe yourself, let's say you're here for a public job. You want to serve the public. That would be the idea, at least. And I'm here with all the listeners from your district, and we would like to know 3 reasons why we, the people, should we hire Jack Ehrhardt for county supervisor. 3 reasons.
Sure. I'll do 3. First, I'll say, because you've talked about being a Democrat, and I'm definitely, when you say different, a conservative Democrat, and that's what people appreciate about me. The only reason, I hang out with Democrats is when it comes to environmental protection or social justice, the Democratic Party tends to have more feeling, more sensibilities about caring about people. So that's why I hang out with them. But I've got plenty of Republican endorsements also. Going back to the 3 reasons, and I hope everybody compares my background with my opponent's background. And basically, I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, went 2 years of community college, then went into a union apprenticeship. So I've got a good education, growing up in a place that really stressed education. Then moved to Arizona, Mohave County, probably 38 years ago, and then even worked for Don Laughlin, back in the 70s. But my background then in construction also was involved in building Bullhead City. I got involved with the city before it was a city, then as it became a city, went through the whole process of helping them with their building department, building their building department, then was chairman of the Building Board of Appeals over the building department on questions, building issues. Then was 2 terms planning and zoning commissioner, then was on the, there was another board.
Anyway, if I can interact, Jack, so you are pretty much have experience. First of all, you're kind of almost a local. I mean, you're a local because you've been here 30 years, almost 40 years. You know pretty much well the area, if I can speak for you for a moment. And the second thing, I think you have kind of an experience, I see, at least into this building process and creating almost a city from scratch, or at least in the construction part of the business, correct?
Yes.
That's your trade. Yes. You are pretty much in the construction business, if I can also say that.
Yes, I'm a licensed general building contractor, so I've had a successful business.
Okay, perfect.
As well as
now,
background.
As a really in the county business, what is, first of all, how would you define the function of government? Why? And this doesn't matter if it's local, state, or city, or whatever, or federal. What is for you the function of government? In few words.
Well, the function of government is to maintain, connect the health and welfare of a community and assist in economic development, which is, of course, a welfare component of taking care of the community. So it's to provide services for indigent as well as, assisting with economic development.
Okay. So let's say, put it this way, because I have my own opinion. My opinion, I'm based on founding documents of what pretty much government was defined. According to my studies and my view of the world, we don't need to agree, of course. That's why we're here, we're exchanging ideas. The function of government for me is pretty much basic to defend the people's rights. That means that the rights of us as human beings, that we have some basic unalienable rights. It's pretty much enunciated, enunciated into the Bill of Rights. Now, you believe that one of our rights, for example, I'm going straight now to some basic topics that I will also for sure bring to Acting Supervisor Jim Bishop, the supervisor that you're running against. In the rights of a county business, you think that a county cable station or TV is part of our rights. That means we are paying with our tax dollar for a service considered cable TV. You think that's a right?
You're talking about the county
cable district. Cable district. We have a district cable that pretty much give free cable service to a good part of the population. And now also it's been used.
No, I don't believe we should be giving free TV service to anybody.
Okay.
I believe if their county has the ability to get grants to assist with transmission and people put up antennas, I mean, that might be a contributing part of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No.
Now, okay, because, I'm trying to understand, when I look at rights, now everything become a right, and I don't believe that a cable TV is a right. When I came to America, I was pretty much poor, and I could not afford cable, and I didn't ask for anybody to pay for my cable, especially because when I believe, for me, the worst part is when somebody is trying to act like a fiscal conservative and then criticize the other side, and I have no problem with that. But then we need to lead with our own actions, and we cannot be hypocritical when it comes down to pretty much contradicts what we say. That's my only point, So, and I'm not trying to say specifically, but I know that now many supervisors that they profess themselves fiscal conservatives, unfortunately, at the moment, they're supporting this sort of a socialist form of government where our tax dollar is being given to these cable districts. And I think it's wrong, in my opinion. But anyway, this is just...
And I have to say, I don't know the specifics of it, but from what you're saying, it seems very obvious that it shouldn't be something that should be funded with taxpayers' money.
Yeah, it was something you should look into that. Regardless, I know that at the end of the day, we will see what happened with the election. But I think it's something very important. Even if it's a small amount of tax dollar, is the principle. That's the point. Now, I know that we have a lot of topics we want to talk, and you were talking about, environment, and I believe every normal person with sense should be respectful to the environments. The point there is also a thin line between property rights and environment. We can be, every one of us should understand, respected the environment for ourselves and the next generation. At the same time, we also know that many things they are being done with the excuse of good causes to pretty much take over our private property rights. For example, are you familiar with Agenda 21?
Certainly.
Perfect. What do you think about that? What is your opinion about Agenda 21?
Well, it was something done how long ago? 8 years ago?
No, Agenda 21, it's way before. But what do you know? Besides when it was created, what do you think about, how can you define Agenda 21? Otherwise, I can help you. If you want... I can give you a little bit of help. Was created, by the way, is an international agreement, was pretty much put together in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, in 1992. And for the U.S., there was Bush father, Mr. New World Order, that I'm sure you're familiar. He was one of the biggest advocates of global government. And now, just to refresh our listeners' memory, Agenda 21, also called Sustainable Development, it is pretty much a plan that starts at global level, but is pretty much implemented through our different governments, at federal level, and that from there it got passed all the way to the local county level. Pretty much means that the control of the environment, the resources, the water, and the land, it is no more under the control of the individual, but becomes part of a global heritage. And it's no more than pretty much global control, the solution of sovereignty, and also it's a form of private property annihilation. There is no more going to be private property because all the different county and city, through city ordinance or county ordinance, they will make pretty much impossible to even have access to land through taxation and permits. This is my, former immigrant, broken English explanation. But tell me if you concur with my point about Agenda 21. What do you think?
Well, basically, the United Nations, when they went to work on this, it was designed to offset so much of the pollution that's been taking place across the globe that it's basically kind of went over the too far onto the other side. So I'm not worried about it. I follow what goes on with it because I'm involved in environmental issues, energy design, and it's true that it appears to be stringent, but when one hydrofluorocarbon molecule destroys 100,000 ozone molecules, there's some serious concern about trying to adjust the whole impact of the industrial complex. I would say the military-industrial complex. So I think it's going to find a balance. I think it was a format to try and execute solutions to severe problems that are, if they continue out 7 more generations, it's going to be something that we can't turn around. Ralph Nader wrote a book describing how the industrialists and the organic people came together in the 1940s and tried to make a compromise, but the industrialists with their chemicals, and everybody's familiar with how some chemicals have just been used too much, cause problems. They're energy disruptors. They're, cause so many problems in so many of our products that people are affected by. So I don't see it is an issue as long as everybody's paying attention to it. We don't let it get out of control.
Okay, Jack, I would like just, as a friendly, I would do this. The purpose of the show for me, it is not to say I'm right or you're wrong, because at this point, the listeners, and more important, the voters, are going to be the one to decide. On this issue, as a friend, as a fellow American and a fellow Mohave County resident, I would suggest you, I would invite you, I also beg you, if you can, to read this book. It was written by a Democrat, by the way, Behind the Green Mask, United Nations, Agenda 21, by Rosa Koire. Rosakoire. Behind the Green Mask, United Nations, Agenda 21. I personally bought a copy and donated to the county, to all the supervisors, to pass it around, seriously, last year, because I really believe this is something that we must be sure what we know, because they try to give us the appearances, the illusion that there is something done for a common cause that's supposed to be a good cause. But remember also that there is a lot of different ways to go to hell, and the way to hell is paved by good intentions. I would invite you, seriously, since I know that your heart is in the right place, I really believe that, regardless that sometimes, we all have a process to learn more, this is a very good source of information that would give you a very good, accurate, backed by facts, not just opinions, idea of what's going on with this Agenda 21. And I really believe it is like a Trojan horse, trying to act like they want to save the environment. Instead, they want to enslave us all. This is and this is not a debate about Agenda 21. It's just about you express your opinion. I give you my opinion. More important, I would invite everybody to read this book. You promise me you're going to get a copy of this?
No, I don't have a copy.
Okay, perfect. If you can get a copy, I appreciate that. Okay? Now,
Okay, sure.
This is pretty much the idea we wanted to understand. Now, regarding, for example, another very important issue, these are things that really our listeners, we really focus in, it's individual rights. When I have an object, like a property, okay? Let's say you have, a hammer, okay, since you're in construction. And it's your hammer, okay? Why? And I want to get your hammer from you, and I ask you permit, because that's your hammer, correct? I mean, can I say, Jack, can you please loan me your hammer for an hour? Because that's your hammer. I ask for a permit. Now, if that's your hammer, okay, why you should ask me or anybody else to use the hammer or to modify the hammer if there is no any type of endangerment to other people? I mean, and that's where I'm going to. Let's go to the building permits, okay? Let's go to the type of, I'm not talking about businesses, I'm talking about residential, where there is no contact with the public. In Mohave County, outside the incorporated area, before 1980, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you were there, I wasn't here, I heard that there were no permits to build in residential area, or at least the zoning was much more looser. Is that correct?
Well, what the county used to do was in the outlying areas, they didn't require a full building permit with full inspections. They required a septic tank permit and an initial permit that you were building X amount of size.
Okay. And honestly, I believe that the septic tank is things that exactly prove my point until I infringe on other people's rights, because water pretty much is for all of us. If I start to leach chemicals or fishes in the waters, we have a problem. All of us, we can be compromised. But my point is, we live on normally 5 acres, 10 acres, whatever, enough space that we do not compromise the safety of our neighbors. Why, if I want to build a little building or something, whatever, should I go and beg for a permit to planning and zoning and have an inspection for something that is not voluntarily? It is not done in a way that you do it because you want to do it for your resale value, but you are forced with the coercion and the fear ought to be pretty much being shut down. Would you ever be open as a county supervisor to pretty much live by the principle that we have rights, property rights, until we infringe on other people's rights? That means in this case, building permits for residential with no access, with public access, I mean there are no customers for liability, shouldn't be any more mandatory, but should be something that we want to do just because we decide we want to do it. What do you think about this strange idea?
Well, I'm actually in support of bringing back the inspections and not doing them in the outlying area. I think it's a place to save money with the county. But as far as building permits for residential homes on the inside lying area, I'm 100% for building permits.
Okay.
The reason is there's children that live inside homes, and electrical, when it's done wrong, can create a fire. It creates a greater burden on the community overall with fire, EMS, to have to come out to a house that was so improperly built that it either catches on fire or there's something. The building code allows you to build a building on your property without a permit up to a 12 by 12 square foot area, which is a storage shed. I believe there should be some leniency, and there's actually a movement on that right now to not make the inspection process so difficult. But there does need to be health and safety and have building codes. I'm totally familiar with building codes and the process. And it's just health and safety. It's really not an infringement on. Once you participate in a process of doing something that's a minimum, because the building code is a minimum building code, it's not, you can exceed the code if you want.
No, I understand. Trust me, it's the interest of homeowners. At least everybody should try to do their best because it's an investment, it's a retirement, and it's also a home, and it's a resale value. But my point is still that, my opinion, I don't think the government should force me to pretty much ask for a permit that pretty much becomes an extra taxation. That's pretty much come down to increasing the property value. But listen, as I said, this is just an exchange of opinions, and we will go now to the next one. Now, don't go away. Stay tuned, because we're going to have a little break, and we will talk with Jack Ehrhardt about property taxes, individual rights, and the county supervisor position for the next election. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we go. We are back. Jack Ehrhardt, running for County Supervisor, Mohave County. Jack, are you there?
Yeah. Hi, Luca.
Perfect. Please continue with the topic. We were just summing it up regarding these permits, building permits.
Well, I think they're too expensive. I think we can streamline and probably reduce some of the inspections. But I'm currently working as a project superintendent on a commercial project, and I'm actually glad when the inspector shows up and he and I go over the things that are being done, and he catches things I don't catch as a professional construction superintendent. So there has to be a balance. When it's too strict, there's actually a provision in the building code. It's called the Building Board of Appeals, and the city has that. Toby Orr is involved with it, and the county has a Building Board of Appeals where you can go to that body of citizens and talk about your issues.
Okay.
So that's protection provisions.
Okay. Question now. Who owns the sun? Who is the
Pardon?
owner? Who owns the sun? Sun in the sky. The sun, that solar. We love solar systems so much. I think it's a great idea. But who is the owner? The county? God, if you believe in God? Or pretty much every one of us? And I'm not trying to.
I don't quite understand the
Okay,
question.
I wasn't trying to be cute, but the point is, my point I'm making, I found out that a few years ago, Mohave County passed an ordinance, and I think it was under Supervisor Buster Johnson, that now to apply and to have a solar system in our households, we must apply for a county permit when we want to have a solar system. And it's not even that cheap, by the way. It's a few $100s. And I refuse, this is for me something that I really refuse, to have a company that I understand they have to go through county and regulations or whatever, but I will never put a solar system because I refuse to pay a county a dime because they think they pretty much can tell me that they have control over the solar. Even they try to play down that this is because for the electrical, whatever. I still believe that is insane. This is my opinion, of course. We don't need to agree. But now, right now, in Mohave County, if you want to apply for a solar system, you must pay a pretty heck fee to the county. Are you aware of that?
Well, I'm aware that you have to get a building permit, and they inspect the electrical that is connected correctly so it doesn't catch fire. And
yeah, I'm talking about $400 of change for that type of situation. And as I said, if I live on a property that it is pretty much me, and there are no people, I mean, fire, everything can happen on fire. I understand. We need to understand that we don't want to infringe on the people's rights. But I believe that that thin line can be used pretty much that they can be great big daddy on everything we do. I mean, even when I go to the bathroom, I can catch fire sometimes. I mean, depends on what I ate the night before, okay? I mean, it's insane, in my opinion, that I have to pay $400 fee to apply for a solar, or more, to apply for a solar system through a contractor. And that's pretty much what they told me in Kingman, that, if I want to apply this system, I saw the different fees, and there was, what is this? Oh, these are permits. But that's just my opinion. As I said, I should be able to use the sun without paying a dime to any government. I don't care which government, because pretty soon they can do this also at federal level. So anyway, I understand your position on permits, and I respect that. At least I know where you stand on this one. Now let's talk about animals, animal control. That is under the sheriff department. Are you familiar that if in Mohave County, your dog or your dogs get pretty much lost, they jump the fence, they get afraid. I mean, I remember that there was former county supervisor, I don't want to mention the name, the lady was just died. I was talking to her, and I really respect her for many things. Pretty much told me that she had to go to court because her dog, was a dog of a friend that she was babysitting or dog sitting, jumped the fence, and the county now is organized in a way that when your dog gets lost, you go get your dog from the animal control, you pay a fee, and then you receive a summon from the judge, and you have to pay a misdemeanor right now for a lost dog. Are you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of that, and that's kind of silly.
No, I think it's kind of criminal more than silly. I mean, because we have a court for criminals. If there is a mistake and there is no harm, there is no damage to property or harm to people, especially for the first-time offenders, I don't think we should go in front of a judge. I think a fine would be more than enough. So I hope...
No, you got me on that one. I agree 100%. I mean, your dog gets loose. I mean, that happens, and you shouldn't be penalized for a typical family activity, which includes our dog getting loose. No, you should not go before a judge.
Yeah. And ever. I heard that several people, it never happened to me, but I heard from several people, and one, I tell you, there is no secret at this point. I mean, Joy Brotherthorne, I talked to her before she had health problems, before she passed away, and I wanted to have her on the show. And she was really concerned about this topic because something happened to her. I mean, think about it. It can happen to any one of us. Okay, tell me some topic you want to talk. So far, I've been leading the way. Give me a topic that you want to share to your listeners, to our listeners, that you think it's important to know who is Jack Ehrhardt as a potential county supervisor.
Yeah, if briefly I could just finish on my credentials. I went into training and then was hired by a community to be a community planning, development, and economic development director. So I did that for 12 years, managed $10 million in grant and projects. So actually, it was almost $30 million. And so I'm able to put teams together to get grants to help build communities. When I've met with Chloride, met with people in Golden Valley, they have specific issues. And the county has a grant department, and that's where you get in, you look for grants, you look for matching, and community matching, and tie things together. So that's something I've done. I've been given attorney status by the state 3 times to argue cases at the Corporation Commission on energy. And
Jack, you have a website. People can probably read all this information on a website. Do you have a website to share?
There's just a Facebook page that's got all that stuff on it.
Okay, I will post the link. If you want to say the name, I will link up your webpage, your Facebook page to my website, today's show, lovegunsfreedom.com, and I'll link it up. Question now, something very specific and practical. There is a proposal for Mohave County to pretty much, in the budget, to put out at least $35 million, $35 million for a new building to remake completely the new county courthouse. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
What is your position on that?
First of all, the county has launched this thing about wanting to build more buildings. They're taking money from other programs. I think some of it came from HERF, which has to do with getting our roads improved. What needs to be done is a feasibility study on what they want to do. And in that study, and I don't see the county doing this, because there's a process in government. You do a needs assessment. What is the need of what you need done? Then you do a feasibility study. These are done quickly. People like myself can do them. Trained people know how to do them quickly. You do the feasibility study, and then you do a strategic plan. What Mohave County isn't doing is a study on the existing administration building. When you walk inside, it's got that grand staircase going up. It's got this eating area that since the building's been open, I've never seen anybody sitting in there eating. How many people are working in that building? How many new offices could move into that building? How efficient is it being used? You go over to the Public Works building. I've been in there a dozen times on meetings. I hardly see anybody walking around. So once again, what is the analysis of how many people could be working in there? How practical is it? They haven't done that. They're moving ahead to want to build a new building.
Okay.
Without the sufficient analysis of what space they have now currently. They might not even need a new building.
Jack, so let's put it this way. Right now, let's for a moment dream that you were a supervisor, you're elected supervisor, you have in front of you right now the vote. Would you support $35 million to build a new county courthouse? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, very good. And this is, as I said, we have too many. We could talk just about this for an hour, but I need to try to understand pretty much on basic issue, the basic answers. Okay, and on this one, I tell you, I'm very disappointed with the actual administration that we have, county supervisors, because I really believe, if I can say my 2 sentences into this, $35 million for a building, especially in this economy, especially where there are no real businesses in Mohave County. I mean, this is one of the worst time of our history in economic growth in general, as a country, as a nation, and we're going to see the worst, unfortunately, I really believe. $35 million, that is a budget for probably in some part of the world can be a country budget, okay, GDP. So I really believe there are a lot of empty buildings we can work with, and we don't need more gold palaces for our lords. This is my opinion. So anyway, I'm glad to hear that from you. Now, property rights in business, okay? We know that, unfortunately, for some people say fortunately, my opinion, I think it's too much. Every time you have a business, you must have a permit, because the word permit pretty much is applied to almost every aspect of our life. Like we used to do during the Middle Ages, you need to ask permit to the Lord before you're going to be allowed to go hunt in his forest. Now, if you want to have a business, you must ask permit to the city, state, county, whatever. Now, there is a situation. I have some friends in Kingman. They have local businesses, and as a gratuity, it's just as a sort of say thank you, they want to offer free coffee and free cookies. I was talking to them, and they told me, look, I'm sorry, we can't offer you any more free coffee and free cookies. And I said, why? I thought they cut the budget. The county wants us now to apply for a health permit. I found it kind of disturbing, because there was not even like any type of transaction. It was a free coffee and gratuity. And more important, I am over 18. they're overeating. There is the will and the pretty much agreement between two parts that if I want to eat roaches from their floor, that's my right to be stupid. What do you think about this position? Should we have a permit to have a free coffee or free cookies in any type of establishment in Mohave County? Go.
First thing I got to say is stupid people are very expensive. Because if someone gets sick, we got to call an ambulance. We got to take them to the hospital. They're probably indigent. So I don't agree with requiring a permit for coffee and cookies. But I do think we need to increase our education in our community.
Okay. But, this is the point. Okay. The bottom line that you do not agree. If I am, let's say, a car dealer, okay, and I want to come here to my shop and come on, have a coffee and have a cookie. And
it's done all the time. I don't think that. I think there must be spot picking on people. It's silly.
The point is still, it's the law is the law. Now, you can be lucky that nobody's going to enforce it, but it's there. And if they want it, they will. And they did. I have eyewitnesses about it. So for me, I understand that there can be repercussions, but the point is I also believe that with freedom comes responsibility, and I shouldn't pay for anybody else's ambulance because nobody pays for mine. Normally, that's why I have an insurance, okay? And if I don't have insurance, I find a way. There is already, by the way, even for indigents, people, there are already situations that churches and organizations that can help you, but that's another story. So, okay, so if you get elected supervisor, you would look into this removal of these absurd health permits for gratuity when it comes down to food as a courtesy service in businesses, would you?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Now, give me another topic. I know you want to talk about BLM and other things. The sheriff department. You have a good point there about the budget, and I found it interesting because I never heard about it, and that's why I'm here learning from you. Tell me what's going on with this Mohave County Sheriff Department that you found out.
Well, I believe the new sheriff deserves a chance to improve the sheriff's department. One of the biggest issues is their sensitivity on women's issues. I have people that have come to talk to me and say that their husband who beat them up and they have charges against them and they have, the whatever it is where they have to stay away from them. And then the sheriff comes out and they're not very sensitive to the women in these situations. So I'm really recommending some training so that.
You're talking about restraining orders? I guess.
Yeah, restraining orders, right,
okay,
sorry.
Okay.
I think there needs to be some improvements in that. But again, the new sheriff needs the time to take over his new position. I've talked to him. He's a great guy, great attitude. But their budget needs to be looked at. I think it was over $250,000 in overtime that I think needs to be looked at. How come they're doing that? Why is that going on? How can we, make that not be so pervasive?
Mm-hmm. So we have a big overtime budget here, over $350,000, according to what you say. And if there was first of all, do you believe that the sheriff, of course, you're not going to be a sheriff, you're running for supervisor, but according to a Supreme Court case, exactly was Sheriff Mack Prince against the United States. Did you ever read about the case? Sheriff Mack? Okay, maybe you should look into that. It's very interesting. According to the Supreme Court, the sheriff is the highest authority in the county. And also, it can be pretty much it is more powerful than the federal government. If the sheriff says, we don't want to comply, and we don't want to be part of this, they have the right. And the Supreme Court pretty much proved the case. And I invite everybody to go to Google or wherever you want to go and put Sheriff Mack, or even no sheriff, just Mack, M-A-C-K, Prince, there was another sheriff, against the United States. And there is all case there. That was down in the 90s when it came down to under the Clinton and the, gun restrictions laws. And that was a great victory for the Second Amendment. But what do you believe? Do you think the sheriff could pretty much stop federal intrusion, like for example, during the bandits? I mean, first of all, let's talk about the bandits. What do you think about the bandits, the cows, the cattle rights, and all this story? If you words, if you say, okay, where you want to side? Would you side with the BLM or would you side with the ranchers in that case? And then you tell us why.
I was on a BLM RAC committee here on grazing and land use rights,
Okay.
Redevelopment, and I'm working on with BLM currently with the land exchange. And I only bring it up because I'm just letting you know I work with BLM. So I see that there's a balance where the two need to work together. I don't see one authority over the other authority. I see them needing absolutely work together.
I understand this is an all good idea. I like to work together with everybody, but there's a point that we need to look at facts, okay? I mean, first of all, there is a point that we know that all the ranchers in the last 50 years, especially in that part of Nevada, are paying this sort of a grazing fee, and then we will go there later. I mean, we don't have the show for all this, but pretty much they've been put out of business. And there is a point, this is connecting to pretty much to Agenda 21, okay? Now, when we found out that, first of all, the Senator Harry Reid, his former chief of staff or whatever was in charge in his office, he became the BLM official responsible for the BLM, okay? And it's the same person that pretty much has been pushing the takeover of these grazing rights and against the bandits. Number one, we have now a conflict of interest. The person that was under Harry Reid, Senator Reid, he became also the top head in the BLM that was leading the charge against the bandits. Now we have then the son, this official documents proven, the son of Harry Reid is in charge of the lobby for the corporation from China that pretty much was planning to buy to that part, exactly that section where the bandits have their grazing rights for a solar plant for just $5 million. So there is a kind of a corporatism there, I call it fascism, with the union between corporations and government, and there is corruption. Now we tell me that a judge, a federal judge, a man, not even a jury, pretty much like you go to your, to the drug dealer and you ask him if I can get a fair trial on my detox, he's going to laugh at you. So this judge pretty much told that the bandits, he has no right. There is a point for me that we need to understand it's not more about grazing rights or about BLM as a pretty much preserving our land. It's about complete corporate takeover under the justification of the environment. Are you aware of all this information I just told you?
I'm not aware of the specific case that you're talking about, but like I said, I've been on a federal BLM committee here recently, and it went very smoothly. Everybody came to, well, I guess we can't say we all came to agreement because I didn't. I thought the grazing head was too much for impact on the environment, but everybody else on the committee agreed, and it did get approved by the state BLM office.
Okay.
But the case you're talking about, I'm not aware of it.
Okay.
I'm locally on local issues with our federal agencies here. Well,
okay, no problem. As I said, this is one day maybe we will do a complete show about some specific topic. I want to just try touch and base different things. Now, since we're doing this little game, I bring a topic, you bring a topic. Quickly, give me a topic you would like to be would be very important for you the first week if you become a county supervisor in Mohave County. One of the first things you would like to address. Change, improve.
Well, business is probably the primary, getting our economic development going. Working, also the educational system needs to be addressed and working, because Dolan Springs is losing their school. They need to get their school back.
Okay.
I really want to get into educational issues as well as economic development issues. And
my opinion, I have my opinion about government and business. What is your opinion? What is the role of government in private business? What it exactly should do for you? Then I give you my answer.
Well, they're using the Keynesian economic model, the British fellow, where government collects taxes and then produces incentives to spur economic development, and that's been going on since almost the beginning of the foundation of this country. I think it's gotten out of control. The whole world is about to change with artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and the other things that are coming up. It's going to be complicated for people to understand. The school
Okay.
system will be changing.
I understand, but now specifically, question. What is the role of government, any government, state, local, city, I don't care, with private business? What is exactly their function? What should they do or what they shouldn't do?
Well, I think they're involved too much.
Okay.
And there'd be another hour show on how much I've been involved in the federal government and how they're involved. They need to. Currently, they think they're giving inspiration to the future, whether it's leading in renewable energy.
Okay. So you think they're involved too much. I agree with that. I believe that the function of government with private business should be to leave us alone, because the government should never be part of private business. Otherwise, we have a corporatism. As Mussolini defined fascism was the union between corporation and government. And I believe really that the government, the best thing can do to have private businesses to flourish and to allow a real free market, not a crony capitalism, would be pretty much to create free market and remove as much as possible any type of regulations, always with the respect, of course, of common goods. When it comes down to water, for example, I believe that we need to be sure that we have enough water for everybody. That's another story. Now, talking about water, Mohave County, in general in Arizona, what do you think? What is your position about, for example, all these new projects from Mr. Rhodes with the farming and the usage of water? What is your position?
I was 10 years on the Watershed Council here, working with the Arizona Department of Water Resources, and we very closely watched the development of the plans, the measuring of our aquifers, and what hasn't been done, and you asked what I'm going to do when I get in there, this would be number 3. We need to get all the information together on our aquifer sources here in Mohave County, quantify exactly how much is there, how much recharge there is, because the recharge happens where the alluvium meets the mountains. Then further quantify how much we can allow to be taken based on recharge, and actually have a flow chart that you can go to, anybody can go to on a site at Mohave County and see just where we're at. We haven't applied good science, but when your community is a desert, when your water's underground and it's limited, you've got to quantify it, and that can be done, and that's probably one of my third primary concerns.
Thank you, Jack. Jack Ehrhardt, running for County Supervisor. This is Luca Zanna. Be ready for hour number 2. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we go. We're back here with Luca Zanna on Love, Guns, and Freedom, K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Today, again, a friend of mine, a person that I respect a lot. And, the beautiful thing about the show, it gave me the opportunity to meet people from different spectrum of the political arena. And that sometimes you realize that we have in common more things that we imagine, okay? Especially when it's a man from another generation, a man that even if you say a Democrat, it is not the Democrat of today. It's a different type of Democrat. I pretty much consider him like a JFK Democrat, completely different from what we see now today in America. Anyway, my name is Luca Zanna, but my friend and my guest is Ronald O'Donnell. Ronald, are you there?
Yes, I am, Zanna. It's so nice to hear your voice again.
Me too. I'm so really glad to hear you, and we can talk because things are accelerating. We talked about 2 months ago. We were talking about all this invasion and this planning of pretty much destroying American fiber, bringing in all these people from other countries like the Guatemalans and all this pretty much de facto amnesty, and then we have to pay the bills while our soldiers, our veterans, our poor people on the streets, they're struggling. And this is very disturbing. Now, we'll see a very dangerous situation. Since the last time we talked, Ebola wasn't yet on the radar. Now it's happening. It's real. It's on U.S. soil. And very disturbing, we have a man acting as a president who's pretty much putting the interest of other nations before our American interest and our safety and national security. For example, did you hear that now Mr. Obama is inviting pretty much to cure and to as patients, Ebola patients from other countries that also they're going to cost us as the taxpayers over $300,000 for patients, bringing them here home, while our soldiers, our veterans having cuts, and more important, as us as Americans, we are forced to pay the bill, and we are struggling to pay bills. And our medical insurance, thanks to Affordable Care Act, sarcastic, is going pretty much crazy. Like myself, it went triple. What do you think about that from a perspective of an activist Democrat that you are?
Well, again, I'm glad you opened with the polite definition of a 1960s-style Democrat, because that is exactly what I am.
Mm-hmm.
My Democratic mentor as a young teenager was John F. Kennedy, of course, and, of course, his younger brother, Robert F. Kennedy. And I think that both of them would be rolling over in their graves if they lived long enough to see what is going on today.
Mm-hmm.
That is sad to say. And as far as President Obama goes, it is through the grace of God that he is not going to be able to come up again for re-election. And I hope his friend Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, resigned because she couldn't handle the pressure of being the Secretary of State, God forgive us if we elect her as president, if she couldn't even handle that job. That's why John Kerry's in that job today. And now she has the audacity to have raised hundreds of millions of dollars to run again as a Democratic president. I won't support her. I will definitely remove myself from being a Democrat if she does become the Democratic candidate. And that'll be fine with me at age 64. I can't bring myself to even believe she could have the audacity to run again. And let's go back to Obama. I still think that, Sheriff Arpaio down there in Phoenix
Mm-hmm.
has been criticized, castrated. He's had Eric Holder, the Attorney General, go into his office, take his paperwork, surveil his police force, his sheriff's department. All this while Sheriff Arpaio has the responsibilities to carry on as the sheriff, as an elected sheriff and an official, to go ahead and stop this illegal immigration of gang members who are crossing the borders illegally, have been for 20 years, and yet they criticize this man. And I believe he's a Republican. But I side with Sheriff Arpaio. I met him, and I like the man. I think he's one of the old school. When he goes, there aren't going to be too many more like him.
I agree.
We're up against a wall. We have open borders. I believe that we should be putting the wall all the way from Florida to California. I'm a Democrat. I think I said that.
Yes. And of course, I'm sure right now for you as a man who grew up in another America, realizing now both parties, because it's not anymore about the Democrat Party when I have control. Look at now at the Republicans. I mean, look at somebody's trying to now think that like another Bush family who wants to come back to become our president. I mean, this is...
I read that. Now we need a Jeb Bush? Come on.
This is like an oligarchy. If people don't understand that the last 30 years, we've been between two families, Bush and the Clintons. And now, of course, Obama was just a little variation, a distraction to create distractions. But because beside that, we have two families pretty much in the last 30, 35 years or more. They've pretty much been controlling this country, at least officially, because you know the story. These are just the puppets. These are just the faces. At the end of the day, I really believe that President Kennedy, he was one of the last presidents who was trying to warn us, and he was trying to do actively something, because when he was trying to stop down the pretty much unconstitutional powers of the private Federal Reserve, and there was a very important executive order that he was ready there to be signed to reclaim authority to the Treasury to pretty much issue in the currency and do not beg anymore and ask for a dollar from the Federal Reserve that is private, we know.
He issued the silver certificates.
Exactly.
And he issued, I think it was 20 million of them a week before he was murdered.
Exactly. And so,
we both know, and I hope the listeners understand, that what he was trying to do was circumvent the Federal Reserve. Now, here we are 50 years later, and everybody's discovered that the Federal Reserve Board is nothing but a private corporation. Kennedy knew that then. He died over that.
Exactly. And that's why I really understand that what we got to unite now as Americans, regardless our party affiliation, we have an enemy in the heart of our republic. And it's called...
Can I just make a comment that I've been thinking about? I've never written about it.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
But here's what has been going on in my mind.
Yes.
And I just want to share this with you, and I'd like to hear your feedback.
Please go ahead.
I believe that somewhere a decision was made, somewhere, 20 years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, but a decision was made by those in control that America was not the melting pot, but the carnival. For the rest of the world to come in and take what they can to reap whatever they could. And the people in the United States were not involved in that decision. We didn't even know that we were sold out a long time ago. I'm thinking in 1978, for whatever, but we don't have enough time to go through the history. But I think that we are being treated now as the world's marketplace. In other words, you can be whatever you want anywhere else in the world. But guess what? The United States just come on in, rape, rob, plunder, steal, take what you can, because no one gives a damn in the United States.
I believe...
No one cares.
I believe...
They don't even know what's going on. They've been fueled with misinformation for so long that they're idiots. Go, take what you want, everybody, and that's what I see is happening.
But Ron, I really believe what's happening here, it is being planned a long time ago. I agree with you. And the idea is very simple, is to create a global government, to create a new world order. This is not a conspiracy, you know very well. Bush father he mentioned this concept in different speeches more than 120 times, I guess. And there have been written books and stories, and it's all there on the records. Global government is a reality, and the Kissingers and the Obamas and the Clintons, they are all there, and the Bushes, of course. They are part of this, and the plan was very simple. It started with the destruction of the American fiber, of the middle class, of the American being a country where you had, first of all, people, intelligence like yourself, hardworking people that could create the American dream and have a different standard of living. So the first stage you wanted to destroy economically. That's why you know very well all this free trade that is not free at all. It's pretty much going to cost us trillions of dollars. Outsourcing our jobs, our factories, destroying everything. Look at Detroit. Now it's the model. It's pretty much destruction. And
we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, so the point, this was planned a long time ago, because to create a global government, you must destroy first the only country that was still sticking up like a little pretty much island of freedom. Even with our imperfections, we still have a different concept of government from other type of governments. This was the only government where people used to have rights, not privileges. Now they need to destroy us economically, morally, and of course, we're talking about also in a way that our sovereignty must be destroyed. That's why they want the illegals here. That's why they want people that never had allegiance to this country, to the history of this country, because they will go and vote us out. And you will see pretty soon it's going to be, no matter if you're Republican or Democrats, they're going to have the same type of drones, the same type of zombies at the polls, destroying what America used to be. That's why we got to wake up now. This is the last stage we have. And I would like to talk now, if you don't mind, about the banking situation, because we all know about now the private Federal Reserve, but at the same time we start to understand that the different branches of these big private, huge corporation banks, like, for example, Chase and other banks, are all the same. they're all pretty much evil, in my opinion, because what they do, not only they have this fractional banking system that pretty much is a fraud, but now let's talk a little bit about your experience and what you're doing here, because you have an interesting situation with a federal lawsuit about a bank that you are pretty much trying to expose. There are pretty much no ethical practices, according to what you told me. Go ahead, please. Tell us.
Well, before we begin, I'd just like to say for the listeners out there, and I know that there are libertarians and there are Democrats and there are Green Party and there are Republicans. I'm going to say one thing. Let's talk facts. Facts are important in this discussion. That's what's important, facts. And I just have to go back for you people that I understand never were told the truth or the facts, that back in 1898, there was what they called the it's sort of the first labor union in America. It was called the United States Amalgamated Iron Workers. That's before they even invented steel.
Yes.
There's a difference, Iron's brittle and it broke, and then they invented steel. But that was the first union in America. My great-grandfather was in that battle in Homestead, Pennsylvania. You can look it up on the internet. His name was O'Donnell. So my whole life has always been on the subject of working people's rights. That's why I became a Democrat. I didn't become a Democrat to go ahead and stop other people from having weapons and on and on and on, and gay marriage and all that. It was always about working people's rights. People don't realize that back in that day, when they went ahead and formed the first labor union, the man and a wife and their kids had to go to the mill, and they had to work in that steel mill. You didn't leave your wife at home. You didn't leave your kids as long as they were over the age of 8. They had to come in and work too. And what had happened was 2 kids fell into the open hearth, and they died. And the family appealed and said, they were religious, and they said, we need to get our kids, we have to bury the kids respectfully. Mm-hmm. And the superintendent said, I'm sorry, but we can't get the kids out because they've disintegrated. Well, the family said, well, just give us the steel, or the iron back then, that they are in, and we'll bury that piece of iron, symbolically burying our children. Mm. And the response was, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan, or I think it was Sullivan, mm-hmm. but the die has been cast. And he walked away. Well, what he said to them was, your kids are railroad tracks. They were formed into a railroad track. Wow. And they were gone. This brought on the first labor union in America. And the first labor union law in America was child labor laws, mm-hmm. prohibiting children from working in the steel mill under the age, I think they got at that time, 14 years old. So for those listening that keep knocking labor unions, you don't know how bad things were because you didn't grow up in it. Neither did I. But I know what happened then. And it's in the history books. You guys can look it up. They don't teach you that in grade school and high school and in college because it's an embarrassment. And why? Because back then, the owner of the steel mill was J.P. Morgan himself. He bought out Andrew Carnegie, and it was called J.P. Morgan, mm-hmm. Chase Bank.
Yes, it's true. It is true.
The same people that we are dealing with today in my lawsuit. 20 years later, I'm filing another protest against the same people that bought out. They called it, by the way, back then, United States Steel, mm-hmm. in case you didn't know. And I know, and I'm willing to share with anybody that's interested, that J.P. Morgan Chase also owns the Treasury of the United States. It's not the other way around. They're not just a bank.
Mm-hmm.
But what had happened, they bought the steel mill. They bought Standard Oil. They bought all the companies. They were the reason for antitrust laws in this country. J.P. Morgan himself, he bought out Andrew Carnegie and made Andrew Carnegie the wealthiest man in the world.
Wow.
That's how much money J.P. Morgan Chase Bank had. And that was in 1898 through 1917 when they finally started the Federal Reserve Board, and they declared that the United States Treasury was bankrupt. What had happened back then? Everybody goes, oh, the Federal Reserve. Now, what happened was J.P. Morgan had a note that the Treasury could not pay. And the deal that was struck, because of the full faith and credit of the United States, which is in our Constitution, he said, I want you to pay me now. And if you don't have it, then you're forced to go ahead and accept this system called the Federal Reserve Board system. And we've been enslaved ever since. We've been in debt from the day J.P. Morgan Chase went in and cut the deal with the Treasury and created the Federal Reserve Board, which has nothing to do with my lawsuit, but I just thought I'd share that with you people, because I may never get a chance to say it again, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I understand. You're right. By the way, you're familiar about also the Glass-Steagall Act, correct?
Yes, actually I am.
Yeah.
And it's not that monumental of an act.
No, but, this...
Well, all it says is you're not allowed to lie.
Yeah.
You can put that in 1,000 pages.
Mm-hmm.
No. And then call it all the fancy names you want, but it basically boils down to you're not allowed to be a criminal.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do we need a law that says in 1,000 words or 1,000 pages you can't lie, cheat, or steal? That's all it says.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I thought that we knew that before the Glass-Steagall Act, that they're trying to repeal. And they did, and they didn't, They have us so buffaloed, we don't even know that we don't need someone to tell us not to lie, cheat, and steal. We knew that when we were born. We went to college to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
No. We went to law school to learn how to do that. You're not born with that. You have to have a degree in lying, cheating, and stealing.
Yeah.
That's why people go to law school. Hell, no one needs to go to law school if they just followed the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, I understand. I do. Unfortunately, we're at this point now. And tell us a little bit specifically about the situation with the Chase credit cards situation and your lawsuit. Please, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep it simple because it's not that simple. What I'm saying is, and everyone out there knows this, you get a credit card offer in the mail. It says, hey, here's 0% interest for the first 18 months. And then, it'll go up to a variable rate depending on your credit. Well, then you start out at 0% interest, and shortly you find yourself at 32.99% interest. Mm-hmm. After you transferred all your balances under the dominion and control of Chase Bank. Boom, there goes your interest. First it's 3.99. The next month it's 12.99. They wait a couple of months and it's 18.99. Wait a couple more months, 22.99. Wait another month, 28.99. You don't notice it, but it's creeping up. Then finally, when it gets over 32.99%, you look at your card, you say, my God, what happened here? I transferred all of the money I owed to this one institution, and they told me I was going to be treated fairly. Now I'm looking at 32.99%.
Oh my gosh!
I owe, say, the average homeowner $30,000.
Oh my gosh!
I'm paying $9,000 a year in interest.
Oh my gosh! It's like
that's a third
in bondage. This is like worse than the mafia. I think if you go to the mafia,
how do you ever get out?
Exactly, that's what I want.
You don't get out.
No.
You never get out. Now, it would be different if it was just one idiot that didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
and they signed stupid papers, and they made a mistake, and they filed bankruptcy and they get away. However, the state of California Attorney General, Kamala Harris, filed a lawsuit against Chase on behalf of 110,000 credit card holders.
Mm-hmm.
I will send you a copy of that complaint. It's about an 8-page complaint. It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. So
once the complaint was filed, it's still in the books.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 2 years ago. Not another word was ever mentioned about it. Now, you have to ask yourself why. Who could shut up the Attorney General in this state? And I'm in California.
Yeah.
If you take that number and you put it across the country, it would be about 1,400,000 accounts. But this scenario that I just discussed with you occurred. There is an Attorney General complaint against him. No action. It's stopped. Now that's why I'm filing mine. Because I'm filing as a private Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
And that is acceptable under what they call the Civil Rights Attorneys Fees Award Act of 1976, 42 United States Code.
Okay.
That is when the Attorney General won't do their job, and then someone who is not the Attorney General has authority to go ahead and go in and follow up where the Attorney General left off.
Ron,
that would be me.
Don't go away. Listen to me. We have a little bit of a break, and I will come back with you after the commercial. I will continue because I would like to give also your information. If other people maybe can reach you, they have similar problems, maybe you can join the forces. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we go. We are back. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna and my special guest, Ronald O'Donnell from California. He's an attorney. He's a retired man, but also is an activist when it comes down to freedom and exposing these fraudulent activities from the banking cartel. Now, we were talking about a very important situation with credit cards and Chase Bank. And please, Ron, continue what you were saying, and then I would like to ask you something. Go ahead.
Well, I was just trying to go ahead and say, Zanna, that no one that has a license to practice law is willing to do what I am willing to do as a retired person. And here's the reason. I'm retired. They can't hurt me anymore. I mean, they could kill me, but they can kill anybody.
Exactly.
But a working attorney that's trying to just make a living, especially an honest one, he can't file what I just filed. And this is filed. It's on the book. I'll give you the case number.
Go ahead, please.
It's case number, and this is in federal court, federal district court, United States District Court, Central District of California, Eastern Division. That would be Riverside. Case number 5-14-CV-02074 and this is the judge's initials, JGB capital K, capital K. But that would be for the attorneys out there listening. They could, look it up themselves.
Okay.
Okay. And anyone can really look it up if they know how to. But basically, the complaint is for fraud in the concealment when you signed that card agreement, fraud in the inducement. They're telling you you're going to get 0% for 18 months. You never did.
Mm-hmm.
The intentional infliction of emotional distress because they're dragging you for years through this stuff. Declaratory relief saying that the contract's fraud is what we're asking for. And then we're talking about violations of the Fair Debt Collections and Procedures Act, where if you can't pay it, they take you into court and they get a court judgment against you.
Mm-hmm.
because you can't pay it. I mean, it's an impossible bill to pay. And then but violations of the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act of 1964, RICO, which is a criminal section, and we're talking Chapter 96, sections 1961 through 1968. And then violations of Title IX of the Organized Crime Control Act of 1970. Wow. It's called OCCA. So that's pretty serious allegations that I'm making.
Yes. And I really understand what you're doing because this is real. I mean, the point is that the average man, unfortunately, has not maybe the knowledge to follow up and to fight back, and also the resources, because, you're a lawyer, and many people, unfortunately, they need to hire a lawyer, and it's very expensive practice to do this. I think this is something that everybody else out there, I know there are a lot of people that they've been, unfortunately, by an accident, by mistake, just by a day late, falling in this trap.
One day can do it. One day can take you from the introductory, what we call teaser rate, all the way up to the first time, 22%.
Yes. Are you looking for jury trial?
Oh, absolutely. Jury trial demanded. Yeah. Yes,
please
absolutely.
Don't go with the I did a mistake myself.
No, there's no way. I'm not a school kid anymore. And I already know that once we get this word out, there will be plenty of help. I already have a number of attorneys that have said, "Hey, Ron, if you have the gonads to file it, we'll help you."
Good.
But they can't file it because they don't want to lose their law license.
I understand. I do understand. Now, if somebody wants to reach you, because probably there are other alleged victims out there, how can they reach you? Attorneys?
We opened up a website about
Go ahead.
4 days ago. We already have 420 hits,
wow.
And we've never advertised.
Let me help you out. Come on, tell me the website.
Oh, it's called ChaseBankCrimes.com.
Perfect.
So you can't forget that one.
I love that.
ChaseBankCrimes.com.
Great.
And it pretty much explains what I've just said to you.
Beautiful website, by the way. And I'm going to...
it even has the Attorney General complaint on there we discussed here earlier.
I'm going to link right now, just to let you know, the website, chasebankcrimes.com. On my website, I will put it on the homepage, lovegunsfreedom.com. And also my Facebook, because this is very important. This is something that what you're doing, it's like almost like David against Goliath, but guess what? Sometimes they forget that even as we are just regular people, when we wake up and we start to understand the fraud of this banking system, and as you said before, Chase Bank, it is not just a regular bank. This bank is one of the shareholders, of the...
when you look at the Bank of New York, and you look at Chase Bank, hello, and who runs the Federal Reserve?
Exactly. Let's
Bank
look at
of New York.
Let's look at the shareholders.
Same boys. What they do is they get a job at Chase Bank, and then they go into government.
Exactly.
Then they get into the Treasury, and they go back to Chase Bank.
Exactly.
And then they go to Chase Bank, and they get a job in the Treasury.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to say it on your show. 1928 to 1932, the Treasurer of the United States was Andrew Mellon. His partner was Andrew Carnegie.
Exactly.
His other partner was J.P. Morgan Chase. Why was there a depression? Was because the banking industry wanted to close down all of the state banks across America. And every time, what they did was they just withheld funding to these banks, Pennsylvania, Texas, and every family were invested in stock in their local banks. And when the banks were brought to their knees, and I'm talking state banks, there's only one state still has a state bank, South Dakota, look it up. It didn't matter to them then. But they brought them to their knees, and they fought those banks with Treasury money at 5 cents on a dollar. Now it's called Bank of New York Mellon.
Wow.
Look at it.
Yes.
Everybody knows they're getting foreclosed on.
Yes.
By Bank of New York Mellon. Look on your paperwork. The people are taking your house away from you. Read your paperwork, people. Look at it. Bank of New York, Mellon, and then it'll say the other entities that are all working for them.
Exactly.
Taking your home, throwing you out in the damn street on a sidewalk, and you don't even know who's doing it.
Exactly. Now,
We are talking about these people that are displacing. They've already displaced 6 million American families, and there's 6 million more in the pipeline. And while I can still breathe, I'm going to talk about it. I want it out there in the news. That's why I ran for state senator. I lost. So what? I'll run again in 2016. But I only ran to get this message out there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I was unable to.
And
no Democrat leader even wants to mention these issues with the bank.
You're right. You're right. This is
There's
very...
elections right now, and not one Democrat, not one Republican has said a negative thing about banks. Does that, and not even a libertarian.
Well, I don't know exactly. That's depends. There are different.
I've been looking for someone.
Listen, I know, for example, one of the few people when he was in office, Congressman Ron Paul, he was pretty much hammering, trying to expose, to audit, and also, of course, eventually to hopefully to, why not, to dream for a moment to shut down the Federal Reserve. There was a person there, but was, of course, a lonely voice. I agree with you. At federal level, it's impossible. It's like the mafia.
Ron Paul was the only one that did.
Yes.
I will take that back. I should have mentioned Ron Paul.
Yes, Ron Paul. But it's true. They are afraid because this is like the rules of a game. If you want to be in the game, you do not touch those topics. You don't touch these topics. This is like something you don't want. If you want to live in peace, and if you don't want to have your family compromised or blackmail or something's going to happen to you, you shut up. And let's look at history. President Lincoln, President Kennedy, we have President Jackson, who was attempted assassination. I mean, this is a very serious matter. The United States government right now, we know it is just a show. Who is really behind? There is a cartel of international and national bankers. They're pretty much...
My friend, I just told you who's behind it.
Exactly.
That is, the name of it is called J.P. Morgan Chase Bank.
Now, I would like to, 1 second, remind everybody to go to chasebankcrimes.com, learn more about this issue, and if you have a similar case, maybe you can share it with Ronald, because this is something important, and start to think that you have two options now. Submit to be a good slave, and that's up to you, or start to resist and fight back. And we still have a chance right now. We have people like Ronald O'Donnell out there. He wants to do the job. He's a lawyer, even he's retired, and he's really passionate about that. We can help him out. You can, first of all, start to go there, learn about the issue, maybe share your situation. And then if you see that something you can do, you can also help him with a donation, because this thing's going to take time. It's going to take some, of course, paperwork, time, and money. So, and that's what they hope. These people print money out of thin air. We have to work for it. So this is the time we have now a chance to start to fight back and unite. And I would like to remind everybody something that I think one of the most powerful quotes from one of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, especially when he was down to talking about the banks. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporation that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issue in power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. And that's where we are, my friends. 1913, our destruction of our country really started. The cancer called private Federal Reserve is in full force. And now all the different type of abuses on mortgages, on credit cards, this is just part of the plan, but it's not the over. This is not the end. Now the point that these banks control our governments, our presidents, our Congress, and we are just living in an illusion that we are free. This is no more freedom. It's corporatism. So what do you think?
By the way, Zanna, I love that quote. I have a quote of J.P. Morgan's that he said.
Tell me, please.
Okay, when people were fighting against J.P. Morgan Chase Bank 100 years ago, he personally is quoted as saying, if you displace these people from their homes, they will not have time to complain.
You're right.
So their whole game is to keep us moving from apartment to apartment, not to have your homestead. I was born in Homestead, Pennsylvania. That meant you had feet on the ground, you had your acre of land, you had your place that you lived, you had your roof over your head, and you were a free person.
Yes, I agree.
In our society today, if you do not own property, that means not a car, real estate, you are not a free human being.
You also know, Ron, that technically we do not really own anymore anything. We are paying just the rent to our masters, because the moment that you stop paying for a moment a property tax, your property is gone. It's just that's another proof. It's not like, okay, you have a lien or you have to pay back later. No, you are gone. Okay?
Yeah.
There was a case, probably you're familiar with that, a lady, a widow in Florida. She had a beautiful home, I think about $300,000 home, and she was late on a payment, and she had to pay some interest. And I think it was just about probably a few dollars of missed interest.
$3. I remember that.
$3, I guess. And she went in front
Well,
of
you know what she did? Is she stood up against them and said, this is frivolous.
Mm-hmm.
And they stood up and said, no, it's not.
And the judge?
And I know one right here in Riverside.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened to her. You don't have to look to Florida. I'm not going to say her name.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what happened to her.
What? Tell me.
She was on a homeowners association, and she's 76 now. She protested that they were paying too much for the gardening in that homeowners association.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw the contract on the gardening and said, oh, this is crazy. So she decided, she took it upon herself to sue her own homeowners association. She lost because she couldn't afford the legal fees. Her attorney bailed out. They hit her with so many lefts, she was begging for a right. Well, anyway, when she lost, she thought, okay, I lost. No, she had to pay the homeowners back all their legal fees, and that attorney claimed $168,000.
Oh, my God.
So then he filed a lien against her house and took her house.
That's so sad. So sad.
And that was over. She was just trying to say, we're paying too much in homeowners association fees, folks. And these contracts are going under the table to their friends. Who the hell pays? I think it was 100 feet by 100 feet. They were paying $10,000 a year to have this guy cut the grass.
Wow.
He said, put rocks on it for $10,000 a year. Well, they relentlessly hammered her and hammered her and hammered her, 6 years in court. And she still calls me now. I didn't know anything about this when it was going on. But I found out about it. Just about 6 months ago when I was running for office, she called me. She's 76. She's living in an apartment.
So sad. So sad.
Now, this is going on across the country.
Yeah.
And I'm saying if there's anybody listening out there, go to that website. At the very end of it, just put in your name, your website information so we can stay in touch and maybe we can work together. And I'm appealing out there for any attorneys that have any sense of justice, any sense, if there are any left out there, please, join me in this effort. Join me in the effort to stop Americans from being the carnival game for the world and to be used and abused and refused. And let's instill back our American principles and our rights of property ownership and our throwing off the chains of slavery. I'm begging you people out there.
And I completely
look at it and listen.
Ron, Ronald, 1 second, please. I completely, for me, this is a priority too, I'm telling you. You know, we have so many things we are facing, but probably if we had to stop for a moment and pick one battle only, if we can stop this cartel of bankers controlling our government and pretty much now being criminal and nothing happens to them, I mean, we got to face this reality. And that's why I really think, you know, sometimes people want to talk about more exciting things. They think it's okay, let's talk about martial law, let's talk about, I don't know, whatever you want to do. This is a very serious topic, guys. If we don't get involved in this, at least understanding the basic concepts of the fraud that pretty much is being perpetrated since 1913 in this country, at least then, when the private Federal Reserve was created, and all these huge banks, they pretty much control everything, what we do, and what we can say, what we can read, and what we can watch and make our opinion. I mean, this is vital issue and topic. That's why I say we have to at least have a chance now to do a practical thing today. This is not just about getting mad or just about getting a bottle and drinking and try to forget. No, the problem is still going to be there. We have people like Ronald here trying to do something practical, trying to show through the judicial system, to the legal system, to fight back, at least to expose them. We can do something. Every one of us at least can go online, and you can go to his website, and let me say this again, okay, this is very important, chasebankcrimes.com, learn about the issue, and probably one of us, many of us, went through this drama too. Maybe sometimes you go just through for a few $100s, maybe for more. We have a chance now to expose this alleged crime and start to fight back. And maybe you can contact directly this man, and you can start to share your drama, your situation, and unite and file another lawsuit. If you're a lawyer, do something, help him out. If you are no lawyer, if nothing happens to you, doesn't matter. You can still donate a couple dollars, because at this point, every one of us is going to be compromised in our freedom, in our rights, if we don't do something. Ronald, listen to me. I have to let you go, but I'm going to dedicate you a song that I wrote in the CD, Don't Tread on Us, that you saw there. And this time it's going to be a different song. It's called Show Me the Law. That probably you heard about it. It's in the CD, Don't Tread on Us, and I will dedicate it.
I love that song. I love that song.
Show me the law. Show me the law, because we want to see.
Well, that's beautiful. That's an appropriate tune to end this conversation, because
Perfect.
That's what we're showing them. We're showing them the law. And before I let you go
ahead.
That's why they want our weapons.
You're right.
Don't give them to them. Don't give them up, because that may be the last thing you have before they take over your soul.
You're right. You're right. Thank you very much, Ron. I love you, my friend. Let's be in touch.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Let's hear the tune.
Bye-bye. Here we go.
We know that the Federal Reserve is a private corporation. We know in 1913 you stole our nation. We know the 16th Amendment was never ratified. What are we waiting for? Let's stand up and fight. Show me the law, show me the law. We know that you're just a fraud. Show me the law that doesn't exist. This time we will resist. Show me the law, show me the law. The IRS has got to go. Show me the law, don't show me your guns. We're not afraid, we won't run. Like a parasite, you live off our lives. Mr. Aaron Russo, yes, he was right. Where in the Constitution did you ever read they can tax our labor till we bleed? Show me the law, show me the law. We just a fraud. Show me the love that doesn't exist. This time we will resist. Show me the love, show me the love. The IRS has got to go. Show me the love, don't show me your guns. We're not afraid, we won't run. Show me the love, show me the love. We know that you're just a fraud. Show me the love that doesn't exist. And this time we'll resist. Show me the love, show me the love. The IRS has got to.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Gianluca Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we are, guys. Final hour is about music and love. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Today, special guest, a man that I've been following, and we crossed each other a few times. I remember in Quartzsite a few years ago, we were doing a peaceful protest in support against the corruption of the police department of Quartzsite. And I met this man there for the first time. I was listening to some of his songs, and I really liked the message. I like the delivery. He's a great artist. He's also, in my opinion, is a great activist. His name is Jordan Page. Jordan, are you there?
I'm here, Luca. Thanks for having me on.
Very good, man. I want to let today your music talk more than everything, but briefly, tell me a little bit about you. Exactly, where are you from right now, and what do you do?
Well, Luca, I'm a nationally touring musician, an artist, and activist. I live in the Midwest. I'm originally from Maryland, and about 7-8 years ago, I had an epiphany that the world that I thought we had was actually not that at all, and that there was a vast movement globally to some pretty sinister folks to take over everything and turn us all into slaves. And if that's the abridged version, I started writing some songs after doing a lot of research about wars and how wars come to be, and what we call the New World Order, and I just I came to some popularity through touring with Ron Paul during the presidential campaigns.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
I tour all over the country and in other countries as well, spreading the message of liberty. The message is pretty simple. That you own yourself, no one owns you, and you don't have the right to initiate force on others. I consider myself a philosophical anarchist. I'm also a pragmatist and a realist, and I deal with what we have currently, and try to take practical steps to get to where we want to go. I'm not trying to restore America to some previous state, because America's never had a golden age of liberty, and I'd like to see one take place.
Okay.
So I used to be, I guess, what you'd call a strict constitutionalist. Now, I've evolved. I think I've evolved spiritually, intellectually, and I'm just trying to bring other people with me and just talk some common sense and look at the world that we know, look at the arguments that we have for the types of government that we have, and try to find something better, because America has become a police state. It is government itself is corrupt from top to bottom, and it's time that we find another way of doing things that doesn't require monopolies on force and militarization of the very people that are supposed to be looking out for our best interests. I write a lot of songs about freedom. I write a lot of songs about resistance against tyranny and against the erosion of our rights. I don't believe that rights come from government, like a lot of people have been brainwashed into thinking. I believe that they come from by virtue of our humanity as creations of a divine creator, and I'm here to I'm on this earth to resist tyranny at every turn, and to educate people and inspire them and bring them along.
Okay, Lista, we have a song ready to go in 5 seconds. Dragons, all right? And this is from your newest CD, correct?
This is from my Liberty album, and it's actually the first song on the record. This was Adam Kokesh's theme song for his show Adam versus the Man.
Wow!
And I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this song, but it's still my favorite song on the record. And it's a little dark, but it's kind of like a modern retelling of the Book of Revelations, only using.
Let's go! It's ready to go. Let's go.
Okay,
here we go. Bye. Dragons by Jordan Page.
See the chaos fire burning high, creeping slow, not on some distant horizon. It's like blood in the driven snow. Under the sun, the clouds of heaven, I saw the seven-headed dragon. And behold, I saw the pouring greed with just the skin at their end and their grinding teeth. When the bread runs out and the well is dry, what will you do to survive when your babies cry? I saw the sun on the clouds of heaven, whose light revealed the dragon, serpentine and ravenous for war. The tribes of men came together round and placed their bids on the floor to secure their crown. And they ripped down our walls and our laws and our choices, left by the beast who took our voices. And lightning lit the heavens as the blood of iron dragons spilled from deep beneath the ocean floor.
And that was Dragons by Jordan Page on live on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Jordan, here we go. Please tell me a little bit about this song, because I really like music. By the way, I used to listen to most of your songs. They were acoustic, especially when you do live. This is kind of a different sound, and I really like it. Go ahead.
I'm glad you liked it, man. That's awesome. Yeah, it's it's a rock song that's like I said a minute ago or a couple minutes ago, that it's kind of a modern retelling of the Book of Revelations, and there's a lot of language in it that's reminiscent of that book, where it says, and I looked and I saw a sign. That kind of language is in the song, and the song really wrote itself. I was a little scared of it when I first put it together, and the first time I heard it with my full band, I knew it was going to be really powerful. It talks about the consolidation of power all over the world. It talks about the image of the seven-headed dragon. I look at that as the consolidation of power over all the continents in the New World Order. It talks about basically like the coming collapse, and it has some sort of some like apocalyptic imagery. And it's really meant to to kind of get that emotional response. The music is very driving. It has that sort of driving beat. But the last lines in the song, it says dragons covering the world, we stand in the shadows of wings unfurled. The bodies of fragile men collide, but this transformation begins inside. And after I wrote that, I sort of analyzed those lyrics to really find out what they meant. And to me, it's the transformation begins inside, is that the revolution begins with the individual.
You're right. You're right. Very profound. I like that. It's very true. If we don't start to change inside, we cannot change the world.
Exactly.
That's very true. Very true. I like that. I'm very glad about this show. I told you, this show for me is an opportunity, first of all, to learn, because I'm here, you think you know, but when the moment that you know something, you just don't know. So it's always a process, and I keep learning. And also it's a great opportunity for me as a human being to know more and more fellow humans, and Americans in this case, that we share the same philosophy, or at least we share the same ideals, or most of that. We don't need to agree on everything, but I really like the fact that they gave me the opportunity to, for the first time, really talk to you and know you as a person. I really like that, because it's an enrichment for me. It's like almost really, it's a process of input and output. I know more people, and more people I know, and more I share their values and their ideas, and more I can start to also evaluate my own ideas. And I really like that. Thank you for being with me today. I really appreciate it. Now, Jordan Page, besides playing music, who are you as a person? What do you do in your life? Well,
I'm a husband and a father. I've got 5 kids. Wow. And I'm a conscientious person. I look at the world, and I see where it's wonderful, and I appreciate that. I don't always just focus on negative, but I also see the things that I want to change. And I definitely have an agenda, Luca.
We all have an agenda. The point is, what type of agenda? We want to be an agenda of positive and good, or we want to be an agenda of control and evil. I know that your agenda is for sure is not to infringe on other people's rights, and I believe we have the same philosophy in that. That's why I really liked what you're saying and what you're doing, because it's very important. I always say, it's not up to us to judge other people personal choices, when especially we do not infringe on other people's rights. Unfortunately, both parties, I realize, they all have the tendency to control what we want to do, what we can say, what we can eat, what we can drink, what we can smoke. It's pretty much all about control. Now, you have 5 kids, you mentioned. I really admire you for that, because I'm telling you, it takes a lot of courage, especially in this economy, in these times. Especially, you're a man that understands what's going on and what is pretty much upon us, not just in the future, already here. What is your biggest fear for the next generation?
Well, my biggest fear for the next generation is, them having to deal with the results of all the efforts being made right now by the global powers. I look at my children, and they're all little right now, and they give me the motivation that I need, to get up in the morning and continue being an activist every day, because I want to be able to look them in the face in 20 years and tell them that I did everything I could to stem the tide of tyranny.
Yes.
But there's so many people, and that are under control, that are being mind controlled on a daily basis through media, through government schooling, through just all the methods that government uses to manipulate the masses and create a false message. And just to kind of get us into just our hypnotic routines that we live our lives in, that their plans are going to go off without a hitch. I mean, we see things getting worse and worse every day, and it looks like their plans are accelerating because of how quickly people are waking up.
Yes.
So, I mean, eventually, I think everything is going to come to a head, and I'm worried that not enough people are waking up fast enough, and that just drives me to work harder to get the message out there.
Okay, I agree with you. Yes, we're coming pretty much to a point that more people are waking up at the same time. The other side is going harsher and harder on us, and this is happening right now. Question right now, we see, especially in this moment, with all these different type of rumors of wars, that pretty much they are wars, even not constitutional and not, they're not technical real wars. They're just United Nations police force actions. And, of course, all these different type of situations, like the Ebola crisis and the borders, they're pretty much gone. I mean, we're living like almost, in my opinion, even without trying to preach to others, but I really believe if you read the scriptures, this is a lot of end-time stuff, okay? And I'm not here to preach, even I believe in Christ. This is something that I just see. Your perspective, are you a Christian? What is your religious perspective on all this?
I'm definitely a Christian. I don't consider myself a religious person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really into church and following the teachings of the church. I'm much more into following the teachings of Christ.
Okay, me too.
So I feel like religion for me, I grew up Roman Catholic, and religion for me was an education, but then I graduated.
Yes.
And now I'm out in the cosmos exploring the universe with what I know. I have a very close relationship with the Lord, but I don't depend on a church to or even the Bible itself as my only means of understanding God. So I think that every person is connected to God, and all of us being manifestations of God on the earth. I think I'm a pantheist, really, Luca. I believe that everything that exists in the universe is God manifesting itself.
Technically, it's true. God is in everything. God creates everything, And I completely share with you the situation when you say, I do not follow any church. I grew up as a Catholic myself. In Rome, you have no choice. The moment you're born, you're a Catholic pretty much. But the moment that I realized that I do not want to submit to another man, I will never bow down to kiss anybody's ring, I realized that I don't need a middleman. I don't need the middleman between me and God, And so now in America, I found the same situation, even without being Pope. There is no Pope, but there are so many other false prophets, in my opinion, that pretty much they try to constrain us in churches, organized religions, and they pretty much, tell us that they are the ambassador of God. And I don't believe that, especially when they start to ask you for money, or they get you the 10%, fee at the end of the year or whatever. So I understand your feeling, and I think, it's very important because especially now we're living in this very perilous time. Without faith, it's going to be very hard to face all this evil. I would have no the motivation sometimes to even get up in the morning, I must tell you, if I didn't have some sort of a faith coming from above, But now, website. People want to reach you, support you. You got 5 kids. I really think everybody should buy at least a couple of CDs just to support you because of your family, okay? And, of course, the music is great. What is your website?
Well, thanks, Luca. Yeah, I think everybody should buy 5 CDs. My website is jordanpagemusic.com, JORDANPAGE music.com.
Perfect.
They can find me on Twitter. It's Jordan Page Music on Twitter. Jordan Page Music on Facebook, Jordan Page Music on YouTube. That's where I am. Anything online with me, just type in Jordan Page Music and you'll get thousands of hits. So I'm easy to find. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Napster. I'm on Rhapsody, Spotify, Pandora. Anywhere that you can download music or stream music, you should find me listed. CD Baby is my online distributor, so I make the most from those downloads when
perfect.
people use CD Baby. But I am on iTunes if that's people's
I love CDs, baby, by the way. I got my music there too, and I think they're great. Really, they're good. Listen, I have a song coming in 10 seconds. It's called Frontlines. You got like 10 seconds to launch your song. Go ahead.
Well, this is kind of like a drop kick to the jaw of the status establishment. Enjoy.
Perfect. And this is now we are playing right now on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network, Frontlines, music and lyrics by Jordan Page. Stay here, don't go anywhere, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Rolls in and the smoke covers all in this imagery of sin. Put your eyes to see and your heart will grieve for a fight you cannot win. On the front lines, brother, I see your pain. Though my anger man won't read your name, just a pawn in someone else's game. A soldier's taking aim on the front lines. Take a good look around at the empty halls of your schools laid bare with graffitied walls, or your classrooms bursting at the seams with 1,000 broken dreams. On the front lines I see the miracle, though the hands are tied and the pay is low. In the war we wage for children's souls, our teachers play a role on the front lines. You can't speak out or you get locked down and they'll throw away the key. On the front lines I see the path of shame, and I'll use my voice to prevent the same sort of godless, mindless, evil game that fear would make us play. On the front lines
This is Jordan Page, and you've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time, getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.